Hello, one and all. Today we are starting our BE competency talks with chapter 1. We are very excited to launch this under the theme BE Exchange. BE Exchange is a platform created to enable the exchange of business excellence ideas, learning, insight, and expertise between Tech Mahindra Business Excellence team and our clients and partner, encompassing co-innovation, experiential learning, collaborative transformation. Now I request Habib Mehboob, Global Business Head, BE, to moderate an insightful discussion.
Hey, thank you, Akshay. Hello, all of you. I'm happy to welcome two esteemed panelists to this conversation. And this conversation is around the learnings that we have with many of our customers on cloud migration. My first panelist is David Colebatch. David is a CEO and founder of Tidal Migrations. He's just joining us after a successful launch of Tidal.cloud as part of the AWS reInvent. He's a strong technology strategist who has conceptualized and architected the Tidal platform, which is a key enabler for clients, putting together a very structured application modernization and cloud modernization journey. Joining him is my colleague Debjit. Debjit heads our technology advisory practices and has been working with multiple customers, guiding them through their cloud migration journey. Together, we are hoping to address some of the key questions that our clients are asking. How is cloud migration connected to application modernization? How do I truly get value out of a cloud strategy? And we will try to answer these contexts in which now there's no longer questions on is cloud required. More questions are around how can I get the maximum value out of cloud? So Debjit and David, welcome to this conversation. I'm hoping that the next 30 minutes provide a set of very useful insights to our joint customers.
Thanks for having me.
So let me start with you, David. And maybe the first question we should ask is, how do you see the adoption of cloud and what are the key challenges that our clients are facing when they look at cloud strategy and approaches to cloud migration?
Oh, sure. So I think the key challenges are one of expectations. I mean, fundamentally, we're seeing migration and modernization become one journey at the moment. And it poses a challenge to many traditional IT teams who are typically thinking about just servers and how to lift and shift servers to the cloud. But I think over the last 5 years, that trend has really pivoted the other way, where most of the progressive cloud thinkers are trying to adopt cloud as opposed to migrate to cloud. And I hear this shift in language from people quite frequently now. But what this means to the traditional thinkers who are using server-based migration mindsets is that they will run into challenges by not embracing cloud-native technologies. And so I think one of the key challenges that people need to overcome is just thinking differently about cloud and recognizing that it's a different paradigm than what they're used to doing on premises.
In a recent conversation we were having with one of our clients, we realized that some of the modernization issues and how they tie into the broader business context. This customer was moving into a far more digital approach to delivering their services. This was an insurance firm in the context of digital insurance, and modernization had to be positioned in line with how the new business would work 24/7, etc. So do you see these sort of challenges with other customers too?
Oh yeah, it's across every industry that we work with, and I think the strategy to deal with that challenge is to work backwards from where those customers want to be ultimately, and oftentimes as we've seen working with TechM, we're actually helping customers to set that vision and strategy up front and get that crystallization of where they want to be. And when they work backwards from where they're trying to get to, cloud migration presents an opportunity for them to really rethink their operating model in a more, say, value streamed oriented approach. And I think that's what we saw together with that insurance company, is that they really need to step back from outside of just what IT's keep the lights on mentality was, and really understand what some of the other business capabilities were that they were trying to create in the cloud.
And you spoke about this migration and modernization coming together. Could you talk a little bit more detail about this?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think when I say migration and modernization happening together, I'm really talking about applying all of the 6 R's of migration that we're familiar with. So not just rehost, which is that lift and shift migration, but also putting an outsized emphasis on the refactor and replatform migration categories. So refactor and replatform are really critical to leveraging cloud native technologies. They're often a shorter path to cloud in that you don't have to plan out landing zones in the cloud that mimic your on-premises data centers. You can take applications that you've developed on premises and port the code to run in Lambda or Azure Functions and Cloud Run on Google. All of these cloud native technologies are available to you and they can be adopted very quickly. And so the so what of that is it's much faster to sometimes port code to deploy it in a different style than it is to create all the plumbing and infrastructure required to run IT in the cloud like you have done on premises. And so this new capability of cloud, where it's well understood by migration teams, has enabled them to not only migrate workloads from on-premises to cloud, but also modernize the delivery of those applications. And sometimes the application's UI as well can get a nice lick of paint and be slightly modernized. One of the things that is still differentiated, I think, is where we talk about true business transformation and reimagining applications. I mean, I do consider that to be more pure modernization that happens to be done in the cloud as opposed to a bit of modernization as you migrate. I think there's a nice delineation point between a refactor migration and a true business transformation. But yeah, fundamentally, we're seeing much more of the former where customers are choosing to modernize their apps, especially their CI/CD delivery of these applications as part of their migration to cloud.
That's a very interesting point that you bring up, David. But I also see maybe a challenge with this, right? This means that I'm also consuming a lot more cloud services, and sometimes the cost also becomes a consideration. Do you think that there's a good optimum in that? What do I use as what I would traditionally call infrastructure as a service versus how much do we get to a platform as a service? Is there a way to find the right optimum here?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we've seen together in some of these enterprise portfolios that we've assessed with Tidal.Cloud's accelerator platform, we're able to find across that portfolio of apps, many of them are sort of over provisioned on premises for all the right reasons. Like infrastructure wasn't as elastic on premises. It would take months to provision servers and things like that. So we had to over provision on premises. But as we really look at those applications usage patterns and take them to cloud, we can afford to be leveraging smaller, more elastic services like serverless and like containers. And that provides a much lower cost footprint of resources in the cloud. And so, you know, some of these enterprise platforms that we've migrated to cloud have had a 97% reduction in operating expenses. You know, just by shifting the way we account for their utility, by leveraging serverless, these things can scale down to $0 a month, and you only pay for what you need. And I think ultimately, when you balance some of those serverless capabilities in the cloud with infrastructure as service for more COTS applications and things that need to crunch numbers 24/7, I think if you choose the services wisely, you can absolutely reduce the total cost of ownership for just about every enterprise we've worked with by a wide margin.
Again, a very valid and interesting point, David. The other aspect I see a lot of our customers interested in is the reliability of the applications and having higher availability, closer to 24/7, avoiding batch processes, bringing in aspects like observability. What are your views on how cloud as a driver to improve the reliability of applications?
Yeah, we talk about cost optimization a lot in cloud, and certainly that is a driving force, but operational resilience and reliability is right up there as well. I think that the reliability we can get with our applications in the cloud now by deploying to multiple availability zones.
Do you see cloud as an enabler customers taking the decision to move to the cloud?
Absolutely, cloud's an enabler for improving operational resiliency and application reliability. I mean, in our data centers, we have one, and maybe we have a DR site somewhere, but in the cloud, we can deploy to multiple availability zones globally. And it's the same price to deploy redundancy across the globe as it is to deploy once. So I think the cloud's a critical enabler to improving operational resiliency. And And that's why it's one of the key cloud value pillars.
What would you consider to be other core drivers that a client should consider as they consider cloud migration?
Well, in this economy, and I think going forwards in 2023 and beyond, staff productivity is going to be another key driver of cloud adoption, where companies are looking to boost the bottom line or save costs because they need to become leaner and more efficient. Staff productivity in the cloud is a big one, and it can be measured in various ways, from the simple IT story of one system administrator can now manage fleets of hundreds of servers more easily that they couldn't do on premises. But more interestingly, I think, is the developer productivity and how quickly they can deploy and consume more services in the cloud rather than having to build it all themselves on premises. So I think, TCO, staff productivity, and application resiliency and reliability are three critical drivers of cloud value right now.
Thanks. Maybe as a conclusion question, what other best practices do you see in this space? What would be your recommendations to clients on how they should be approaching cloud strategy and migration?
Sure. I think there's really two key things to consider. Be really crystal clear on what your business outcomes are. What are you trying to achieve through your cloud program? Be it one of those three value chains we just talked about, like to lower my costs, improve my resiliency, or improve productivity. Get crystal clear on those and which one's the highest priority. Second thing is to really understand your application portfolio. Do a comprehensive application assessment. Understand your line of business applications, not just the technology bits and bytes. It's not enough to just understand how many servers you have and what operating systems they're running. You really need to step up a notch and understand those line of business applications, how much value they provide to your business, and what technologies they're comprised of. And once you have the clear outcomes you're looking for, married with where you are today, charting that path of how to get there becomes a lot simpler, and you can do it in a much more value-oriented approach.
So let me summarize what I heard from you, David, for the audience too, before I move to Debjit and then discuss our joint experiences. So one, what I hear you say is that you should look at the cloud modernization in the context of a larger application modernization. And that is not just about rehosting of applications, but in the refactoring and the replatforming too, being able to use native cloud services would enable that to happen. So a broader strategy where one analyzes the entire application portfolio, and definitely the replace and retire are no-brainers. But for almost all the applications that are in the middle, there is probably a cloud component that one should consider. Two, you are saying that the key drivers in the past were all operational cost oriented, but increasingly resiliency, reliability, and staff availability, and maybe a subsequent alignment with cost there too, are also key considerations as one considers an approach to migrate into the cloud. Right. I hope I've covered at the high level the points that we addressed.
Absolutely. You have nailed it.
And if you allow me to, then I may want to ask Debjit one or two questions. Debjit, I mean, would you want to talk about some of our joint experiences in using Tidal for enabling clients with their cloud strategy?
Sure, Abhi. Thanks. As David was pointing out, in any cloud transformation or any cloud migration project, the first step you have to take is doing immaculate assessment. Because if you do it right first time, probably you're there. Because many cloud migrations fail, they don't see a light of the day because the planning and the assessment, the initial strategy has not been done properly. So we, along with Tidal, have been working globally in telecom customers, insurance customers, BFSI clients, where we are using Tidal tool to do an initial assessment of the set of applications, of the existing infrastructure, and what David was also mentioning, something we call the 6R analysis. In fact, it is moving to 7R now. So we do an assessment using our consulting approach in BE. We use some of our standard frameworks and also the Tidal assessment tool to assess which set of applications are cloud ready, which are the ones we retain, which ones to retire, and which are the ones which need some change, or tweaking in their database, in their OS. Also, another critical point is, just to assess the interdependency of one application with another, because in BE we have this framework where we put all the applications in a 2 by 2 matrix, where you have a business criticality against technical debt. So once we do that assessment and we try to put the set of applications in this matrix and plot the graph and understand which are the set of applications which are cloud ready, and using Tidal tools, we do an assessment of the 6R or 7R analysis to assess which are the set of applications which have interdependency on each other, which are the applications which we have to refactor, which are the ones where we have to change the OS, probably upgrade the database, maybe do a technical data assessment of the set of applications, if it is a custom built application, before we move to cloud. So we have been jointly, working with the David's team, Tidal, and across the globe. And we have been using their Tidal tool to do the initial assessment as a part of our BE consulting exercise.
How easy it is to deploy Tidal into a customer environment. There are all these conversations about having to install agents, getting specific permissions, etc. And then one of the key concerns many clients have is the ease of use. And your views on ease of using Tidal in a customer environment, Debjit.
Yes, I think that's a very valid and good question, Habib, because this is a challenge we have been facing almost every day or every time you go with Tidal, assessment tool, because the primary, challenges or the queries which any customer has is, hey, are you going to, install Tidal on our production server? Are you, if there are a set of applications, will you also need the access to the source code? And then how easy or how difficult is it to operate or use the Tidal tool? So one good thing is that Tidal always works on metadata, right? We really don't put the tool on the primary server, the production server. That's one. Number two, once you buy Tidal, you have a 1-year subscription to use Tidal, and even if the client wants to learn the application or subscribe to it and use and reuse, it is perfect. So you can use it as many times you want over a 1-year time frame. And as I said, you're installing the Tidal tool on and using the metadata, and you're not really installing it on production server. So those are, some of the key inhibitions, or I see the challenges which the customer come up with, but it is very easy to address.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I mean, our early customers at Tidal were all, security conscious, public sector, telco, and insurance companies, as you mentioned. And so by design, when we architected Tidal, we did it with those challenges in mind. And so Tidal presents as an agentless offering that has offline modes that can be run on air-gapped networks. And it's really important that customers understand the flexibility you get with the Tidal.cloud platform, that it does support these really secure environments, and that no customer data ever leaves their environments. So everything gets analyzed in situation, like on your machines, but you don't have to install agents. You can install an analysis utility either on your laptops and workstations or in a VM. And to date, I mean, we support providing that through either a VMDK file, an AWS AMI, or a VM image on Azure, so that customers have a lot of flexibility around how they can do analysis of their environment and their applications as well.
Thank you, David. I think we are almost running out of time. Could you maybe take a minute and summarize what we discussed till now? The key points I am taking back are, one, today everybody agrees that there is no alternate to cloud, and everybody should have a considered cloud strategy on how they move to the cloud. Two, the fact that we should not look at cloud as just a hosting platform, but as also a provider of more capabilities, which would really take a lot of applications to a digital footprint and create a footprint of modernized applications. And in addition to typical aspects like cost, resilience, and staff availability are issues that we can address through a cloud journey. And Tidal provides a platform which is very user-friendly and adaptable to help customers develop a very clear and transparent roadmap on which applications to prioritize and in which sequence should they move to the cloud. Any other points that you may want to bring up, Debjit and David?
I think you nailed it. I would also add one thing about the momentum that we're seeing, that to really double click on that enterprises today are full steam ahead on cloud adoption strategies because they recognize the need to move now. And so we're really excited about what the next year or two will bring as more and more enterprises start, in earnest adopting public cloud infrastructure.
Debjit?
No, I'm good. I think, Habib, one last point which you brought up is a very valid point, that using Tidal tool and even using our own BE cloud assessment methodology, one very critical factor is to define the sprints. Because say if your customer has a set of say 500 applications or 600, 800 applications, you just don't take all applications and put it on cloud, right? You have to define the sprints, put it in logical buckets, and then decide which is sprint one, which are the set of applications I have to move in sprint one, which are the ones to move in sprint two, sprint three, etc. That is one very critical assessment which we do, and one of those critical success factors for ensuring that your cloud migration at the end of the day is successful. So that's one thought I just wanted to leave behind. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Thanks, Debjit. Thank you, Akshay and Madhu, also for joining in. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been a great catching up. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you.
Thanks, Avi. Thanks, David.
Bye-bye.